Welcome to everybody here in attendance to this very important session on seed sector transformation in practice, the case of ISSD Uganda. It's going to be a very inspiring session where we're going to hear about the key achievements and major lessons learned from a decade of ISSD activities and partnerships in Uganda. I'll immediately hand over to our facilitator and moderator for today's session, which is Maya Tyson, my colleague from WCDI. Maya, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you very much, James. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, depending on the place from where you are joining. In this session on seed sector transformation and practice, ISSD Uganda. In this conference, we have seen more general sessions, for example, a session focusing on how seed sector transformation can contribute to food systems outcomes. We have seen sessions on specific innovations, technical innovations, institutional innovations, and we have sessions in which we shared experiences from specific programs, like the session yesterday, sharing experiences from private seed sector development in Burundi, a program in Burundi, the session on ISSD Ethiopia, which was organized last week, Thursday, and this is also one of those program sessions. So we will share the experiences of the ISSD Plus program in Uganda. So the ISSD Plus program has been running from 2016 to 2020, but it was building on a former ISSD program, a former phase of ISSD Uganda, running from 2012 to 2015. And like James said, in this meeting, in this session, we will learn lessons on seed sector transformation based on the experience of the program, but we also will discuss and propose future action areas for further improving the seed sector in Uganda and its contribution to food systems outcomes. We will start with a presentation by Patrick Oye, who's the chief of party of this program, and then we will have a panel discussion. It's a panel discussion with staff as well as collaborators of the program. So in the panel are Joseph Asimwe, who's the chairman of the local seed business association in southwestern Uganda. We will have Ben Bataringaya, who is executive director of COVOID, the Community Volunteer Initiative for Development. We will involve Christine Kawuma in the panel, who is the monitoring and evaluation manager of ISSD Plus. We will discuss with Joseph Bazale, who is a seed sector expert and recently retired as commissioner at the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. And last but not least, we will have Joseph Nibayemana, it's a complicated name to pronounce for a non-Ugandan. And he's the intellectual property officer at NARO, and he's standing in for the DDG technology dissemination. So these were all close collaborators to the ISSD Uganda program, and we are curious to hear about their reflections. But like I said, let's first start with the presentation of Patrick, after which we have a panel discussion. Feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we try to address as many questions as possible. Thank you. I now hand over to you, Patrick.
Okay, thank you, Maya. As I wait for the presentation to be shared. Very good. Good. Okay, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and greetings from Kampala, Uganda. We're here to share our experiences in the seed sector development in Uganda by the ISSD programs that ran from 2013 up to 2021. As Maya already said, there were two different programs, the ISSD 1 and the ISSD Plus, which we are going to be talking about today. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, the ISSD program, as I mentioned, started in 2016 to 2021 June this month. It actually ends this month. And the objectives of the program was to increase availability and use of quality seed in Uganda. And the main goal was to increase the productivity, income, and nutrition of at least 300,000 households. The project was implemented by Wageningen Center for Development Innovation in collaboration with NARO and MAIF. And the program was funded by the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands here in Kampala. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, what were the challenges in the seed sector in Uganda at the onset of the programs? There was inadequate access of quality seed in the country, with figures quoted as being less than 20% of farmers in Uganda actually accessing and using quality seed. And even of the 20%, it was predominantly maize, hybrids, and sunflower and vegetable seed. There was no or limited seed of open pollinated variety of important food crops from the former seed sector. There was also an unconducive and enabling environment, lack of supportive policies, and limited capacity of seed sector institutions. There was also lack of coordination in the seed sector, with one recognized dominant seed system and lack of stakeholder harmony. There was also lack of awareness of quality seed by farmers in Uganda. There was lack of awareness of the access, the benefits, and affordability of the food crops. Next slide, please. Yes, so what was the approach of the ISSD program? The approach was to foster sector transformation by doing two things: by supporting the strengthening of the enabling environment and then addressing challenges across the entire seed value chain. Now, how did they support the strengthening of the enabling environment? It is by supporting policy evolution towards pluralism. Pluralism means to have an inclusive seed sector with multiple seed systems complementing one another. This is done by incorporating these in the seed policies and regulations. There was also the strengthening of the capacities of the sector institutions to adapt to the changes in the seed sector. And the key stakeholders or the institutions were the MAIF, National Seed Certification Services, and the NARO, National Agricultural Research Organizations. There is also the need of building partnerships for seed sector coordinations for collective change and shared vision for the seed sector. And secondly, as I mentioned, the ISST program had to address challenges across the entire seed value chain. And the seed value chain, for those of you who know it, starts from research, that is the early generation seed. The program had the early generation seed program. When it comes to multiplication of and availability of quality seed, the program had a quality declared seed component. And then when it came to uptake, the program had an uptake component that was also complemented by a vegetable component that promoted the use of vegetable seed. Next slide, please. Yes, so what were the achievements of the project? In regards to the enabling environment, the project was able to support the ministry together with other development partners to develop an inclusive national seed policy, which is, I think, National Seed Policy 2018, together with its accompanying national seed strategy and the supporting regulations. This has been seen as one of the most inclusive seed policies in sub-Saharan Africa in regards to the pluralism in terms of seed systems recognized. So that policy was passed in 2018, and the supporting regulations that were passed as well are the Seed and Plant Quality Declared Seed Regulations 2020 that guide the production, marketing, and regulations of the Quality Declared Seed System, the Plant Protection and Health Regulations 2020, and the Variety Protection Regulations, Plant Variety Protection Regulations, which is currently being finalized for gazetting. The program also supported MAIF to decentralize seed field inspections to district local governments with at least 233 district agricultural officers now conducting field inspections across the country to support the national some background noise, national seed certification services. The program has also supported MAIF to develop a digital seed tracing and tracking system that can eventually be upgraded into an integrated seed sector information management system to potentially enable the digital regulation of the entire sector. It must be said that this is all possible by a robust partnership with the ministry. Next slide. Yes, after working on the enabling environment, of course, you have to work across the entire seed value chain, as we mentioned. And one of the areas that the program worked on was the early generation seed segment of the seed value chain. And we did have an EGS component. And here, the program supported the National Agricultural Organization in transforming the basic seed production systems to become a more business and market-oriented system. This was done by streamlining the operations of the EGS system within the narrow setup, and we did support NARO to come up with 3 models. One of the models was the National Foundation Seed Enterprise, which is currently being implemented by a company called Seed for Seed, S4S Uganda Limited, which is a coordination unit for all the EGS operations in NARO. Then we also supported NARO to decentralize production of EGS to the zonal institutes, that is the ZADIs. That is what we call the ZADI-led basic seed business model. And then thirdly, we also help the NARO to, what should I call it? To have LSP outgrowers to support the production of basic seed production. So therefore, there was diversification as well as streamlining to be able to coordinate all these activities. So under these 3 models, a total of about 400 metric tons of basic seed of beans, groundnut, soybean, rice was produced. And the demand for 2020 was met by at least 80%, which was a very big achievement. The S4S now plays a very vital, pivotal role in EGS coordination in the country. Next slide, please. Yes, of course, with the introduction of the new seed class in the seed policy, that is the QDS seed class, the project supported the establishment of the system to regulate QDS production and marketing. And of course, as mentioned earlier, all these are guided by the QDS Regulations 2020, which was passed and is currently in use, being implemented. Some of the achievements in the QDS component is that we have about 250 active local seed businesses. These are farmer-led seed enterprises across the country, across 36 districts that are producing very high value quality declared seed. And we have a total of about 4,220 seed entrepreneurs in these local seed businesses, of which 35% are women and 24% are youth. And the average acreage under QDS production in the country is about 13,230 acres of seed being produced. With this, we were able to disseminate 59 crop varieties to the rural communities. These are varieties that were officially released by NARO. So it was also a conduit for dissemination for improved varieties by research. And in total, we produced about 3,000 metric tons of seeded QDS crops and 6,808 metric tons of roots and tubers. Next slide, please. Yes, as it has always been said, availability alone does not guarantee the uptake of the quality seed by the smallholder farmers. Therefore, there must be some efforts to promote the uptake of the quality seed. And this was done by market diversification, awareness creation, and demand stimulation. Market diversification was done through seed fairs that were done at community level, you know, where different seed producers and local seed businesses would showcase and sell their varieties at particular days, usually market days. And then we also supported the LSBs to have outlets at the local village markets, which is a very popular way of marketing. Village days are very popular in the rural setting. So we use that opportunity to open outlets for quality seeds. To create awareness, definitely we use the number of approaches. We used mass media, which were radio and TV campaigns. We also used road shows, which is a kind of edutainment, usually which was combined with the seed fairs to make them more attractive. We used, of course, demonstration activities at farmer level. And then we also promoted what we call quality seed champions. These are people who would move around the communities promoting quality seed. In terms of creating effective demand, we used the approach of sale of small seed packs, which were more affordable to the smallholders, to stimulate at least them starting and buying at a smaller scale. So the small seed packs are a very good way of stimulating demand. And then, of course, there were innovation projects whereby we responded to demands of the markets, such as certain preferred varieties, which were probably obsolete and were revived. And then the market for that particular seed was then regenerated. Next slide, please. Yes. So what was the overall contribution of the project to food and nutrition security and agricultural development? It must be mentioned that 35% of farmers in the QDS intervention zones are using QDS. So from 0 to 35% within those areas, that is a very huge achievement in use of quality declared seed. 326,000 farmers in total are known to be using QDS, and 205 acres are planted with QDS. Now, because of use of quality seed, there is always additional yield, and that additional yield results into additional food produced. And in total, it is estimated that about 143,000 metric tons of additional food was realized as a result of using QDS alone. And in terms of extra income, It is 178 billion shillings extra because of using QDS. And of course, the other dimensions in terms of nutrition and promoting nutrient-rich crops and varieties. Iron-rich crops, about 840 metric tons of food, and vitamin A, usually through the orange-fleshed potatoes and others, 549, about 5,000 metric tons. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, what are the key lessons learned? Policy evolution is a slow and protracted process and requires prudent sector coordination for consensus building. It is not a one-day thing, it is not a one-year thing. It is a very slow and protracted process, but a very vital process. There is need to strengthen the key sector institutions for them to adapt to the emerging demands of the transforming sector. The transforming sector means the new seed classes will create new demands for services and inputs. Services are quality assurance and inputs are EGS. So MAIF and NARO needs to transform itself and strengthen themselves as well to respond to the new demands. The farmer-led seed enterprises, the LSBs as they're called, are a viable solution to availability of seed of OPVs and self-pollinated crops to complement the formal seed sector, because these crops do not make a very attractive business case to the seed companies. But at the LSB level, within their production and marketing context, they are able to thrive in that businesses. Seed availability alone, as I mentioned earlier, does not translate into uptake by farmers. Therefore, there needs to be a viable uptake promotion strategy or strategies that is always continuous and goes hand in hand with the activities to increase access of quality seed. Next slide, please. Yes, the way forward. The journey has been long and we have achieved definitely a lot, but we know there are certain critical areas that will need continued support. We do have a national seed strategy and we have been trying to implement just parts of it. So definitely there needs to be continuation in the implementation of the national seed strategy. Same with the seed and plant QDS regulations. There needs to be support to the implementation of the regulations so as to be able to institutionalize QDS sustainably. The EGS production and marketing initiatives are still quite young and they need to be nurtured and supported until they can be sustainable. And then finally, as I mentioned, the uptake of quality seed initiatives must be continuous if we are to narrow the gap, the 80% of farmers using quality seed, to adopt the use of quality seed in Uganda. Next slide. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for this very interesting presentation. It took a little bit longer than we expected, but I think there's so much to share. And I can see also from the chat that it really creates a lot of interest in the program and how you exactly have been doing this, also in relation to QDS. But first, before we go into these questions, I would like to start a discussion with the panel and see if we maybe can integrate some questions in the panel discussion. And first, I would like to ask Joseph Simwe, who is the chairman of the local seed business association in southwestern Uganda. Can I ask you the first question? Because may I ask you, Joseph, if you look back 10 years ago, how the situation was and what were the problems of farmers in getting access to seed, how has that changed over the past 10 years? And how has LSB, the concept of LSB, helped you in making that change? Can you please highlight us, tell us a bit more about this issue? So what were the problems and how has the situation been changed?
Okay, thank you, Madam. As you have mentioned, I'm Asimo Joseph, Chairman, Susuba. Okay, I will not go first too far, but to tell you 10 years back, the progress of seed was very poor. And when the ISSD started in 2013, up to now, the situation has changed. One, the community in fact has been getting the quality seed and their production was improving and getting food and then income. Secondly, the uptake, in fact, it has been going up. It has been going up. As we can see in 2013, the local community, in fact, they didn't use the improved seeds. But up to 2020, up to 2021, in fact, the uptake of seed, it has been going up. Sadly, we can see that the new varieties have been introduced and people, the community, in fact, has taken up very seriously. For instance, the iron-bean-rich beans, zinc, and the iron. Also, it has helped our farmers to improve, to get incomes. Sadly, I can say that the community, in fact, after getting the improved seed, their standard of living also it has improved. All in all, I can say that the ISSD program, it has changed much the community around, and also improving, taking the seed business as a business for income. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph. It's good to hear that the program has helped farmers to take up new varieties, also zinc and iron-rich varieties, as well as adopting quality seed of these varieties. And thank you so much for the collaboration with the program, being a chairman of a very successful local seed business in Uganda, as well as the chair of a seed association, which brings several local seed businesses in southwestern Uganda together. Thank you so much. I would like to move now to Ben Batringaya, who has been collaborating with us in scaling the approach of local seed business. So I would like to ask you, Ben, how can and development organizations further build on the and what do you need from other stakeholders to do so, to continue with this approach?
I didn't get the question. That was some.
Good morning.
Ben, did you hear my question?
I'm called Ben Batringaya.
Hello, Ben. I'm trying to turn off your camera. Yeah, it might help your connection. And
Okay, am I communicating?
we can hear you now. There is some background noise, but we've turned off your camera, and that also seems to have helped clear up the connection. Please go ahead and answer the question.
Okay. I'm called Ben Batringaya. I work with an NGO called Community Volunteer Initiative for Development, a partner NGO to ISSD Uganda. I would like, first of all, to thank ISSD for the good work it has done in transforming. In Western Uganda, where I come from, the ISSD has transformed the agriculture sector. They have helped to increase the number of commercial farmers. Most of our farmers have been in the subsistence sector, but with the coming in of the LSB approach, a good number of farmers have come, are now commercial farmers. And this has been timely because Uganda has been having a challenge whereby 8% of the farmers in Uganda are involved in subsistence farming. That's a challenge the president has been working on. So we thank them so much. Let me go now straight to the question. How do NGOs, government organizations, how are they building up on the experience with the LSB approach? First of all, COVOID as a partner to ISSD, we entered into a partnership because our role was to ensure that we sustain the LSB approach in Western Uganda. We are currently supervising 19 LSBs in Western Uganda, and we follow them up. We provide them with technical support to ensure that they keep following the guidelines. And this is going on very well. And most of them have been able to produce good number of kilograms of seeds, and which is really appreciated. One, we're also trying to link them to markets as a way of building that experience with the LSB approach. We're linking to markets to different seed companies so that they are able to get money and fight poverty. At the same time, we're also linking them to financial institutions. On that one, what we are doing, most of them we realized if LSBs are to access financial support, it's advised that you first form them into a cooperative. So we are mobilizing most of them to form to organize themselves into cooperatives so they can access finances. So that one is also happening. Of course, they need finances for them to scale up their production. Another aspect we are also looking at is we are taking time to explain the seed system to make them understand the difference between the formal and informal seed system, especially trying to invest very much in explaining the significance of the quality declared seed, because most of the farmers before ISSD came in were involved in the farmer saved seed, which is not helping them so much. So we are using the media to go on the radio to talk about the importance of quality declared seed for them to pick up. And as I speak now, a good number of farmers have adopted the quality seed. And we see most farmers coming in at our NGO asking for the seeds. And this is a very big achievement. And I was happy when Patrick indicated that 35% of the farmers have adopted the use of quality seed. So all this is part of the achievement has been registered. Then we're also using the local seed business trade approach as a strategy for scalability. As COVOID, we are trying to enter into new sub-counties where we are not reached with ISSD as part of the process of scale up, because we want the model to scale up and the people to many farmers to come up and uptake the use of the quality seed. So all these we are doing because we want the model to be sustainable, because that's what ISSD entrusted us with. At the same time, COVOID joined other organizations to form the Ankole Stakeholder Forum, which was formed as an avenue for sustainability. And COVOID was actually elected as the patron. I happen to be the patron of that stakeholder forum, which brings LSBs from South-Western Uganda, including even Ruego. So these are some of the avenues we are looking at.
Could you please round off, because we have more people in the panel and we have so little time.
Okay. Yes, as I move on, as I wind up, I want to go on the stakeholders. What kind of support do we need from the stakeholders? The main stakeholder have outlined. We have MAIF. MAIF, we need them because they are enforcing the seed policy. They are helping us to ensure that the farmers follow the production standards, following market procedures. For example, we want to see every farmer packaging the quality seed. They're also helping us to do close supervision of the seed producers. For example, they trained agriculture officers in districts as the seed inspectors. This is also happening, and helping us quite a lot. A team that could even supervise the agricultural such institutions, so that even the foundation seed that comes out is of good quality. We have also now we expect them to do timely provision of the foundation seed, so the farmers are able to get it in time. Then also establish foundation seed buffer zone in each region, so it can be easier for SMEs to get the quality seed in time, and to also reduce the cost of getting the quality seed.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you. Thank you. We need to stop here because we only have 10 minutes left, and there's so many more people to talk. So thank you so much. And thank you for showing us the benefits that you got from the collaboration, but also putting really requests to other stakeholders for further support.
Makere University, they are also working closely with institutions to show that.
Thank you so much. I would like to go for the next question. I want to go to let me see, to Joseph Bazale. Who was a former commissioner of MIFE and who's now retired, and who worked a lot with the program. And maybe you can try to be as concise as possible because we have very limited time. So, yeah, how has the program supported you, but also what are still challenges left to be addressed? And who should address those? So Joseph Bazale, I invite you to unmute yourself, welcome, and could you please answer that question? Please unmute yourself.
Joseph, you will see a small indication in the bottom left of your screen to tick unmute.
Okay.
There you are.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being part of this panel. I'm Joseph Bazale, retired commissioner with the Minister of Agriculture, now in private consultancy. Well, many things have been said about the program. I will not go back to that. I just want to look at areas that we need to continue working on to make this program remain successful. As Patrick said in his presentation, the ISSD is working with the ministry in developing that ICT platform, which is very important for quality assurance so that farmers get the best product in terms of quality seed. So I think one of the key areas that we need to move is to continue improving on that ICT platform, because there is a hybrid of many of those systems that are being developed by different agencies. So we need to come up with an integrated platform that can capture data to create a very well established seed sector integrated information management system, because that is very important, is a key area that everybody can work on too, and farmers can be able to access seed based on that platform. The regulators can be able to communicate the messages to the seed producers on the systems of certification that are being applied. The input dealers, the agro input dealers can also hook on that system, so that with that integrated information management system, every stakeholder along the value chain can be able to benefit from it. The second area is, as Patrick said in his presentation, is implementation of the seed strategy. As he said, we have started with a piecemeal. So we need to put in place systems that can look at the total package. This strategy here has many components and action plans. So we need to see how we can continue getting support to implement this strategy, because this strategy is actually a 5-year strategy. It's a costed strategy, fully costed. Each of the stakeholders has a role to play. So we need to open up this document, and we see that all those stakeholders along the value chain can be able to participate in implementation of this strategy. Lastly but not least, we also have the private sector Uganda Seed Trade Association. it plays a key role. It is very important that Uganda Seed Trade Association is brought on board so that when you're implementing this strategy, government, local governments, and the private seed businesses, including the seed companies and local seed business groups, understand their roles and responsibilities in implementing this strategy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Also being very concise in what you need to go forward, need to do, to have, or the collaboration that you need, or the important points to go forward, which is the ICT system, the seed tracking and tracing system, as well as implementation of the strategy, as well as highlighting the importance of the private seed sector in Uganda also, and USTA that needs to be strengthened. Now I would like to go to Joseph Mibaye. And please unmute yourself. And I would like you to take the same approach as Joseph Bazale. So please, so NARO has collaborated very closely with the program. As you could see also, Patrick highlighted it in the presentation. But what do you think that is still left to go forward on this pathway of seed sector transformation? So please
thank you so much.
those issues.
Thank you so much, Maja. My name is Joseph Mbehaimana. I'm the head of intellectual property management at NARO. And I appreciate the difficulty you're having in pronouncing the name, but you'd get to know it. No. Yeah, I would like to join my colleagues and participants in thanking the conveners of this meeting. And again, thanking ISSD for the long-term partnership that we've had with them in streamlining and improving the seed sector. At an institutional level, indeed, many things have been talked about that I wanted to highlight, but in the interest of time, I'll just focus on the institution, NARO. We have, it is important to note that before the ISSD intervention, the seed sector or seed system was, fragmented. Even within the commercial route where you have the certified seed production, and in the standard seed, where we have the QDS, all was fragmented. Every player was doing things in their own way. Now, the intervention of ISSD now triggered a number of other interventions at a national level, institutional level, and even local level. Now, at institutional level, we realized that we needed to clearly draw the path through which the technologies or varieties that come from research would get to the end users. So we came up with two major routes. That is the commercial route and the public route. And all these were triggered by the intervention that was that came up through these various interventions and engagements we had with the ISSD. Whereby the commercial route is where we have seed that is going to the end user as certified seed through seed companies. And then we have the public route, which in the end output of it is the quality declared seed or the standard seed. So we already have a clear framework that is guiding those two paths. And we look forward actually to supporting more of the LSBs and even creating more, because we must appreciate that our private sector is still growing, the commercial route is still growing. They may not have capacity to supply the entire demand. So we have to come up with a strategy of getting more LSBs on board so that they can generate the seed and sell amongst themselves. And it is also important to note that through this engagement and interaction with ISSD, we streamlined the operations of our private arm, which is the NARO Holdings, and we came up with two seed companies under the subsidiary, which are subsidiaries of NARO Holdings Limited, and that is Seed for Seed and the Premium Seeds, which Premium Seeds will focus on production of foundation seed. So NARO has been scattered, you're in research, you're in the fields doing trials, but again, there is demand for foundation seed. How do you balance the two? So we are saying that let our breeders and researchers concentrate on the research, and then let NARO Holdings, Premium Seed Company, concentrate on foundation seed production. And then the Seed for Seed, which is a social, company that is basically not for making profit, but for purposes of producing seed that of especially
Joseph.
low value crops. That
Joseph, I hate to cut you off, but could you please round up? Because
sure,
I
sure.
also
Thank
want to
you.
give the floor to Christine before we finish.
Yeah, sure. As we conclude, thank you so much, Maja. Indeed, major challenge I want to highlight is there has been some little bit of conflict between the certified seed producers and QDS producers, where the certified seed producers think that the QDS producers are bringing on competition that is unnecessary, and that is one intervention that we have come up with clear proposals on how we are going to regulate space so that the two players operate in free space without causing unnecessary competition. I thank you so much, Maja. I would have loved to share more, but in the interest of time, we can stop there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Joseph, also for emphasizing the need for multiple pathways to strengthen the sector and be very clear about what NARO wants to do to continue all these efforts. Then finally, I would like to give the floor to Christine. And Christine has been a long-time collaborator or staff of ISSD, and she was already there since the beginning. So Christine, what do you think is needed to make the ISSD effort sustainable? What is your advice?
Sure, thank you very much, everyone. I have mainly just two very critical points. We understand for most of this, one of the most important things is the mindset change on the side of the farmers regarding the use of the quality seed. Yes, a lot is being produced, but we find farmers having a lot of challenges. So that is one major thing that something that needs to continue by both private and public sector. So continued farmer. So this is a role for everybody, the NGOs and everyone. Then a second critical point, I'm trying to be fast, I can see Maya is on. Yes, another critical point is a market systems-oriented approach for many of these self-pollinated and open-pollinated crops. And this will need joint action of both government and the private sector to structure the product markets. Because if this is done, it will stimulate the use of quality seed. So it's a whole chain. So we start at the end, but there's a lot of work to be done. And if I give an example, for example, one of the successful crop enterprises for the LSPs, which is soybean, many of the groups are doing very well. Most of these are in the north and the east. And the reason for that is because there is a pull from the vegetable oil companies. They need quality products. They need specific input varieties with a certain oil content. And because of that, a farmer is forced to have to plant quality seed of those specific varieties. So there is that kind of pull. So if we had that for many other crops as well, beans, specific varieties with a special, basically our markets are not structured. So that's a role really for the private sector and government. And for me, I see if we work on that, we really do everything. And before we know it, there is increased production of QDS. The partners, the NGOs will be interested in creating more LSPs. Because, well, there is a case, if they see a certain value chain, maybe suddenly groundnuts is doing very well, they'll take interest in that and they'll say, let's create LSPs, let's support them. And yeah, before you know it, there is more quality seed. So it's a whole process. So for me, those are the two major things, and it's all the pull from the demand side.
Thank you very much, Christine, for highlighting these two very important things. So the mindset of the farmer, that quality seed has value, but also taking a market-oriented approach where a grain value chain can pull really the demand for quality seeds. I know we are 1 minute over time already, but still I would like to give 1 minute to Patrick, who is the chief of ISSD Uganda, to really close this session. Patrick. Can you please put on your camera?
Yes.
Minutes only,
yeah? Okay, yes, I would like to thank all the participants who have spared time to listen to our journey and our lessons learned, and hope that it can be of good use in the different countries. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our partners in this journey, because the journey has not been about ISSD alone. We have key stakeholder partners, NARO and MAIF, and outscaling partners. We have vegetable companies that we have worked together to promote varieties with them. So this journey has been long, but it is not completed yet, as been mentioned. There's still a lot of work to be done to achieve 100% quality seed use in Uganda. So with those few words, I'd like to say thank you very much, Maya and James, for organizing this important workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah.
And thank you all panelists.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Maria. And indeed, Patrick and all of you for contributing. I think trying to get a decade of such amazing work and collaboration into 50 minutes is next near impossible. But I think you all did a great job, and we're very grateful for your contributions. Thank you again.
Okay. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, James.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So to all of us here in the audience, we move swiftly along. We're coming, unfortunately, to the end of our conference program, but before we do get there to a synthesis session, we have two very interesting sessions. Unfortunately, you have to choose. If you stay here, we'll have a discussion session based on a few short PowerPoints, but really it's an open discussion session on promoting and supporting sensible seed sector regulation. If you follow the links that are in the chat, you will find a session which in some ways mirrors yesterday's session, which was synthesizing the lessons from Private Seed Sector Development Program, PSSD Burundi. But this is a Francophone session. And there you'll really zoom in on creation of demand, what lessons can be taken from experiences in East Africa that feed into the development of programs in West Africa. A very interesting session. Please do note there's a different link. See that in the chat. And please also note that is a Francophone session. Final word of thanks to our panelists still here, and to the panelists in the audience for the next session. I will start to elevate you now momentarily. Thanks very much, and see you all again soon.